interesting now to see a man, just for like 10 minutes, eat his pasta. 10 minutes. I think it'll take me 10 minutes to eat that. I'm surprised I haven't breathed it in. Hey everybody, it's James. Today we are going to tackle something which everybody loves. It's pasta. In the lasagna episode, however long ago that was, I used sheets of pasta for the lasagna, and I made like a big thing of like, I'm not making pasta, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I'm not making the pasta. Mental, absolutely mad. We're doing it. We're making the pasta using flour and eggs. And here's something that I struggle with, but I'm gonna give a go. We're not gonna measure anything. No nonnas are using scales to measure out their flour, you know? This is a great recipe to try and teach yourself how to use your eye when it comes to making food. Then we're gonna bring it together, 3 different types of pasta that you can make at home relatively easily. You know what? Let's get to it.
Right, let's get down to pasta. When it comes to making pasta, you need 2 ingredients, flour and eggs. I'm using 00 flour, or 00 flour. It's a lot finer than plain flour, which gives your pasta the texture that we're going to be looking for. You can usually find it in big supermarkets, but also, if not, have a little look in Italian delis or small delis, because a lot of the time they're going to import the real deal, the legit stuff. The other key to good pasta is good eggs. I'm using these eggs from Clarence Court. They're made by little Burford Brown chicken. There she is. This is April. She lays some great eggs. They have a really nice deep orange yolk, and it gives your pasta a beautiful colour. So as I said, we're not going to be measuring anything. So dump half a bag of the 00 flour onto a clean worktop, and using a bench scraper, bring it all into a little mound. Then with your hand, make a tiny little well. You should have some real Encounters of the Third Kind vibes going on. We're going to add 3 eggs to our little well. Look at the nice deep colour on those yolks. Then we're going to take a fork and we're going to start to whisk the eggs slowly. What we're aiming for here is to slowly incorporate the flour, a little at a time as we go. As time goes on and you keep whisking, you'll start to end up with a consistency that looks like a thick custard. Keep bringing a little more flour in as you go until you have a thick but still sort of liquidy looking dough. Using a bench scraper or just your hands, start to bring some of the flour in on itself and start working it around as a dough. We want the pasta dough to be bouncy and rollable, so we're going to have to keep kneading it to build up some gluten. Keep going until you end up with a smooth ball of dough. It should feel really supple, like Play-Doh. During all this time kneading, I'm just going to point out that I've got a new mic. Bought that for myself for my birthday. I'm actually having an absolute nightmare right now trying to record. I'm getting stuff mixed up. You're not going to hear any of that because I'm going to edit it all out, but trying to upgrade at Amused Bouche, and it's proven trickle. There you go. Sort of an example of the anarchy that's going on here. Wrap your dough up tight in some cling film, and I mean tight. Air is the enemy here. Once wrapped up, get it in the fridge and let it chill for about 30 minutes up to a couple of hours. Little side note, don't waste the excess flour, especially if you've got the imported stuff. Just get a bowl, put a sieve in it, and sieve out any of the excess flour. We're going to need this flour in about 17 seconds. After your pasta dough has been in the fridge, bring it out and divide it down. Now I'm doing 3 different types of pasta here, but I'm going to split this big piece of dough into 4. I'd say that when it's rolled out, a quarter of this dough will make enough pasta to feed 2 people. The rest you can wrap up tightly and get it back in the fridge. Flour really is going to be your best friend here. Liberally flour your work surface and your rolling pin. Start to roll out your dough, and once you've got a flat pancake, we're going to start laminating. Laminating will help give your pasta a nice structure and a better texture in the end. All you need to do is fold the pasta sheet in on itself like an envelope, as I'm doing here, and then roll it out again. You want to do this about 3 times to build a decent lamination, and then we're going to employ the talents of this bad boy. A pasta machine makes life easier. You're going to want to open your machine out to its widest setting to get things started. Give your dough a good dusting of flour and send it through the machine. Now I'd suggest after the first time of going through the machine, I'd give another lamination. Fold it like before and give it a little run over with a rolling pin just to flatten it out slightly. Send it back through on the most open setting. Now you can start to lower the number on the pasta machine. Each time it will stretch the dough a little more. Keep going until you get to about level 2 on the little cog on the side. A good way to check the thickness of your pasta is just run your hand underneath the sheet. You should be able to just about see your hand under the dough, like a little pasta ghost. Pasta, the friendly ghost, the friendliest ghost you'll know. No, well, actually, yeah. No, yeah, that does work. Okay, so the first pasta on our list is mushroom and ricotta ravioli. Into a pan goes a finely chopped onion and 3 cloves of finely chopped garlic. Let them sweat it out. Cook them slowly and they'll caramelise up a treat. To this we're going to add 4 large, finely chopped portobello mushrooms. Again, let these cook down in the pan. Add some salt and pepper, a little pinch of dry chilli, and about half a tablespoon of oregano. After 5 minutes of cooking the mushrooms down, you can add 2 tablespoons of ricotta. Give it a good mix in. Then, just to add a touch of sweetness, I like to add a little drizzle of honey. Pop that in a little bowl and let it chill out. Back to our pasta. Now, what I would usually do is cook the filling first so that it's ready to go, and then roll out your pasta just so it doesn't dry out. Obviously what we've done here is cut it into 2 big sheets, and I've cut the ends off just to make 2 lovely rectangles. Now, using a little spoon or a melon baller like I am, put little balls of filling onto the pasta sheet. Don't use too much filling. And also don't use a melon baller, it was more hassle than it was worth. We're then going to use a little bit of water to help bind the 2 sheets of pasta. You could use a brush, but my fingers are, quite delicate and dainty, so I'll just use them. Lay the other sheet of pasta over the top of the filling and use your fingers just to help seal the 2 sheets of pasta together. Use a small cup or glass to roll around the filling just to try and get out any excess air. Next, either use a pasta cutter like this or a knife just to divide up the ravioli. Pop them onto a floured plate and then we're back off to the hob. We'll be back and forth from the hob a bit today. Yeah, if you think it's a nightmare to watch, imagine filming it. Liberally salt some boiling water and drop in your ravioli. They're going to need about 90 seconds to cook, not long at all. As time goes on and you keep cooking pasta, you'll sort of get a good judgment of how long you should be cooking it for, but try not to cook it any longer than 2 minutes. Into a hot pan goes a decent knob of butter, I'd say about 50 grams, and let it melt. Into the melted butter goes a clove of crushed garlic and the leaves of about 6 sprigs of thyme. Once it's all bubbling away, get your cooked ravioli into the pan. Move it about and get a nice coating of that herby garlic butter all over the pasta. I like to let the pasta start to brown slightly on the edges. It just gives it a really nice texture and increases the flavour. Plate up a few in a bowl, spoon over some of that butter, and dish 1's done. Back to me in the studio.
We've got our first dish, the mushroom and ricotta ravioli. You got it in the lovely thyme butter. Usually you could go sage, like sage is a really, really good one to go with, but I couldn't find any sage, so we've gone with thyme. So let's give it a little try. Oh, it's so good. The ricotta's made it quite creamy, but it's not really an overpowering taste at all. But the mushrooms are really, the taste is really strong, which is lovely. The honey in there, a little drizzle of honey's made it quite sweet. But the butter and the thyme bring their own thing, and the pasta is so good. Like, and that's me, I'm blowing my own trumpet massively. Out of the pasta dishes so far, that is banging. That's banging. So, let's move on to the next one.
Our next pasta is going to be CACIO E PEPE with fettuccine pasta, which I'm going to cut by hand. To do this, we're going to split the long sheet in half, then flour them up liberally and loosely roll them into a cigar shape. With a sharp knife, we're going to cut across the cigar, like this. When you cut the pasta, sort of cut down and across instead of straight down. It's going to stop the pasta pinching together, and if it pinches together, it will stick together and it'll be a mess. Unravel them one by one and crisscross each strand into a star shape. Once they're all unfurled, bring them together like a little nest and give them a good flouring. When you've done this to both sheets, you can put them on a floured baking tray, cover them in some cling film and pop them in the fridge, and it'll keep them fresh for a good few hours. Here we go, back off to the hob. In a hot pan goes 30 grams of butter. As the butter goes in, soak in the pasta. Again, this is only going to take about a minute and a half to cook. Add some cracked black pepper to the pan and let it toast off in the butter before adding your cooked pasta. Don't worry if a bit of water comes with it, that's a good thing. Stir it in and give it a quick toss before adding about 100 grams of freshly grated Parmigiano Reggiano. Stir it through the pasta. The cheese will start to melt, but if you add a little bit of that pasta water, it's going to emulsify the cheese and you're going to end up with a rich, creamy sauce. Give it another hit of pepper and a pinch of salt, and that's it. 4 ingredients, that is it. Let's see how James is getting on with that in the studio. James, back to you.
Okay, so we've got the CACIO E PEPE. So let's have a little taste, see how it fares. Oh wow, that's good. I mean, it's rich. It's really, really rich. Obviously very peppery. We put loads of pepper into that cheese. Basically, it's made it really, really creamy. It's like almost like a creamy sauce. It's like salty from the cheese, but then the pepper really, really kicks you. The pasta's sort of got that nice little bit of bite to it. I quite like having the pasta in those sort of fettuccine sheets. A little bit thicker, like gives you something more to sort of get your mouth around, which is a mental expression. Get your mouth around that. The cheese is sort of holding to the pasta. And obviously we've got that pasta water in there, which has really helped, you know, bring it all together and combine the pasta and the cheese. That's up there. And so easy to make.
Next up is a classic. If you've seen the film Chef, you're going to know all about it. It's aglio e olio, which is translated as garlic and oil. And we're going to make some spaghetti to go with it. Using our pasta machine attachment, most pasta machines will come with this, we're going to run it through the spaghetti cutter. I've been really advocating the use of flour, almost like I've got a sponsorship from Home Pride. But flour this up. It'll mean that it won't get stuck in the cutter, but also when the strands of pasta come out the other side, they won't get all stuck together. Liberally toss it in some flour on the other side, stick it on your baking tray, and you're ready to go, well, you guessed it, back to the hob. Into the hot pan goes a decent whack of olive oil. I'd say maybe 4 to 5 tablespoons. That is going to seem like a lot, but, you know, it's in the name. So just accept pasta as your saviour and bow down to the oil. We're then going to go in with about 5 big cloves of freshly sliced garlic. Let it all sizzle and start to cook down, but don't let it burn. Keep an eye on it. In goes your pasta, and with this, literally only cook it for a minute. Believe me, I learnt the hard way. Try and stagger it going in as well so that it all doesn't stick together in a big clump. Back to the pan, add a good pinch, maybe half a teaspoon, of dried chilli. Then into the pan goes our cooked pasta. See, I think I overcooked my pasta there and it's ended up all clumping together. You win some, you lose some. Stir the pasta into the oil and garlic, then go in with the juice of half a lemon, some finely chopped parsley, some salt and pepper, then add a touch more of that pasta water just to emulsify the oil, and you're away. As I said, this is a big dish in the film Chef, and if you want to be as cool as Chef Carl Casper, then this is the dish for you. And that's it for me down here at the hob. It's for the last time today, it's back to the studio.
So it's our final pasta dish, the aglio e olio, garlic and oil. My first criticism of myself is that the spaghetti is obviously so fine that it seems to have clumped together. Now that might have just been that I didn't flour it enough before it went in the water. But I've got a good decent sort of fork there, so let's see. Even though we used a lot of oil, that I would say is the lightest one of them all. Obviously you've got the lemon, which gives it sort of a freshness. You can taste the parsley, obviously you can taste the garlic, and there's that little bit of heat. It just sitting right in the back of my mouth from the chili flake. I could eat just a bowl of this. Like, it feels lighter than the CACIO E PEPE, most definitely. Yeah, that's pretty nice as well. That's pretty good. So there you have it. 3 different types of pasta. The light is fading very quickly, so I had to rattle through the old aglio e olio. But making homemade pasta is actually a bit simpler than it probably seems, and it tastes so good. These 2 last pasta dishes, there's 7 ingredients in one and 3 ingredients in the other. I mean, you can't really get much easier than that. Please give them a try. Take pictures of them. Post them to us on Instagram. If you tag me in it, I'll repost it. That's a fact. Even if there's thousands of people doing it, I'll do it for a laugh. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel, like us on Facebook, all of the above of the social medias. For now, I'll see you later.